Hello and welcome to your reading, air signs. This is going to be for the collective of all of the air signs, but with a little twist. I am not going to tell you which reading is for which sign, as I want you guys to kind of use your intuition on your own. And it's actually no secret which sign is which. It is just something for you guys to interpret on your own, because I want you to feel like you can have this freedom to basically not feel too stressed about like what to listen to in the reading. This is kind of just really a helpful way to trust your intuition with these things. And then also, I feel like when I say like it removes the pressure of listening to like a specific reading, like if you are just listening to your sun sign and sometimes you feel pressured to listen to those readings, this kind of like rules out that stuff. So if you'd like to discuss in the comments which reading is kind of more for a particular sign here, definitely feel free to discuss that if you want. But we're going to get into basically the pick a card section. I'm going to pull from the Amazing Archetypes Oracle. It's one of my favorite decks to use oracle wise. It has so many different deep and like layered details to it. It is a very, very awesome oracle deck. Okay, so just take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Let's get started here. All right, for group 1, we have the Ethereal Visions Tarot. And let's get a card out for group 1. One card, please, or try to at the least. What card do they need to know, need to hear, or see so they know the readings for them? We have KAIROS here. Very, very intriguing card. There's a lot of, I want to say, I believe it's Greek mythology that kind of plays out into some of these cards, which is really, really interesting. Because I know there's like cards like Thanatos and stuff like that. So if you see any familiar sort of imagery, you may see that play out here in just this oracle deck. So for group 2, we have the Manga Tarot, one of my favorite tarot decks, just because of like, I really like the card stock. It's really smooth when it's shuffling, and the imagery of manga art is beautiful. So what does group 2 need to see so they can know this reading is for them? What do they need to know for their highest good for group 2? One card, please. Oh, I'll take that one. Oh, yeah. ALETHEIA. I love that card. Now, for group 3, we have Tarot of the Abyss, which is a very, very intricate and detailed tarot deck. There's actually 2 different cards for the 3 of Swords and the 10 of Swords cards. Each of those cards has 2 different versions to them, which is really, really cool. But what does group 3 need to see / know to know this reading is for them? What do they need to see? Ooh, we have the Shapeshifter. Very interesting, very interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys sit with these energies, and always take what resonates, leave what doesn't, all that wonderful, beautiful stuff. And I will let you just sit with these cards, intuitively choose, and we'll go from there. All right, group 1, you chose Kairos. Kairos, I actually haven't seen this card in a while, which is why I'm really interested of why it's coming out today. Let's read from the book because I believe the author has written these cards beautifully in their descriptions. I believe this card is like right, or one of the cards that's like right before the last card. It's like third from the last. Ooh, interesting here. Kairos, mythic time, synchronicity. We have all had the experience of timelessness, of life beyond the ticking of the clock. It may be felt as time standing still, slow motion, or losing track of time on a walk or in a lovely conversation. This is known as mythic time, and is the territory of Kairos. This card suggests that a secondary time continuum that goes beyond any earthly clocks and schedules. Within this nonlinear realm, we access divine timing. A single moment ripens with auspiciousness, and our life and our actions change the trajectory of our whole life. Time becomes a living thing that watches over us and tells us precisely when to speak or act. When this card appears, it is all about patience and precision. No clock can guide you. Wait for the rush of the inner knowing, and not a moment longer. The word evil comes from the root unripe. Consider that everything has a time of ripeness when it becomes a nourishing fruit, sweet to the lips. Compare the Greek words Chronos and Kairos. This will guide you to an understanding of logos and mythos. At least so you can see it there. That's if you guys just want to do some homework. I'm not really giving you homework, just something to look into and consider. So with this keyword patience kind of just being center stage for this energy, I feel like there's a lot of understanding where you, not only where your patience lies, but where it has grown into of like, when we get older, we kind of become a little more patient about things because it's one of those perspectives of like, oh, I know what it's like to be that younger age, so you don't really lose patience too much because you're just kind of like, oh, kids are being kids, kind of a like thing, to put it very plainly. But this patience is something that like I feel like you've given yourself a lot of patience and you've taken your time with things, and I feel like you are embodying this energy of like, if you move too hastily and move too quickly, you just kind of expect yourself to trip over your own shoelaces or just like slip and fall down, metaphorically, mess up even. And I feel like that aspect is something that you've reworked in your head and really tried to move forward with, like, hey, this is something I can actually, like, this knowledge I have, I can now use it to my advantage of, like, when we feel like we should be moving quickly, let's actually slow things down and have some patience. Because there's always this energy of, like, it's not going anywhere. Things that you want to do, like, don't really have too much of, like, a shelf life, per se. So I feel like there's a big, not just ask in, like, trust, but there's a big understanding of, hey, where am I going to get this patience when I need it? And I feel like you just kind of always have these thoughts and understanding of, like, okay, well, if I move too quick, we're gonna fall on our face, and we don't want to do that. So that's where it comes from. But I feel like there's this other aspect of wanting it to be, like, conjured up a bit more frequently, of just having patience. And I feel like this is where it's almost like understanding, okay, I gotta get through these dull, boring moments in life in order to get to this goal or accomplishment. But the idea that you have a hard time mustering up some of this, like, mythic time, per se, and just kind of being in the moment and living in the moment, or just kind of working off this mythic time that was mentioned with Kairos. It's almost hard for you to see at first until you're already sort of in this very fluid sense of like, oh wow, like time just flies, or things feel very slow today. I feel like you're trying to recognize every moment that you feel this way. And that's the like super intriguing part here, is that like we're meant to just feel our way through it. We're not really meant to like stop and always stare at the roses or smell the roses kind of a thing. It's like when those times come, yes, enjoy them, but there's never supposed to be an understanding of the deeper meaning right away. I feel like that's also a big thing here that we're going to talk about, is like there's a deeper meaning that you want to learn right away, but that's the moment where it's like, no, just enjoy this. And I feel like this is going to tackle, and with the time that I'm filming this on March 3rd, so there was just a huge lunar eclipse and full moon, full blood moon to happen. So this is really understanding that like maybe the baggage that you were holding wasn't really yours to hold, or some of the stuff of like, hey, like you are allowed to do this. I don't know who taught you that you weren't allowed to enjoy and live in the moment, but that's the main thing that I feel like you understand that has held you back for so long, and you want it to not. And obviously it takes time for us to really get to that point, but I genuinely feel like having patience here is like the key, and also like straw that breaks your own camel's back kind of a thing. And right when you want to have patience and give yourself patience of like, all right, let's understand what's happening, is like a weird catch-22. But when you are having patience, you kind of don't catch yourself that like you are having this sort of mythic time of patience until you're already like embodying it or processing it. There's something about there's no point in always being super like hyper aware all of the time, especially when it comes to spiritual stuff and just conscious and subconscious. Most of the time when it comes to understanding stuff, we learn it after the fact. We learn it like after something is already said and done. So group 1, don't stress yourself to really like understand everything right away. And we're always learning something at different times, and I feel like if someone told you, I feel like we're group 1, you are very much a collective of people who you were told that you couldn't enjoy things in the moment, that you had to understand what was going on at all times. Like if you were the older or oldest or just older sibling who was really smart, and every time that you walk into the room, people expect you to know things, and that one time that you don't know things, or that you just want to chill out and like relax, like people demonized you for it. I feel like that's something to really thoroughly acknowledge for how you take things like currently. And if you have been like trying to put this part of the healing on the back burner, this part of the shadow work on the back burner, this is your sign to, hey, take a moment to look at this. And if you have a moment where you're really enjoying this sort of mythic time of just like things seem to slow down, enjoy every little bit of that, and you can worry about the rest later. There's something so interesting about enjoying this mythic time, because I feel like this is something that's like whatever you need to get done, it can be like it can get done later, or like the universe will still have a way for things to work out so you can get like laundry done that you wanted to start, but then you find yourself being pulled into this very slow-mo, like intuitive mythic time. Actually, the one example I'm just gonna give, because this is very small, it's not like fully resonating, but this was just an example. With all of this full moon stuff, I wanted to really like release things and cleanse and just like get all the gunk out of my spiritual energy. And I took a shower, but I kept feeling like I just need hot water. And I ended up taking a bath and just soaking myself in the hot water after like already cleaning myself and all that stuff. Well, it's a lot of water. At the same time, I just felt like that's what I needed. I needed to be still. I needed to slow down. And after doing that, I feel very grateful for my past self for doing that, because that really helped with what I was trying to sort of clear out energy-wise. And the stuff that I need to do today can still get done. It may just be at a different time, and a later time, and I may have to like work things out a bit differently, but it's still going to work out. And I'm not really like kicking myself for spending too much time in this bathtub. Like, it's something that we kind of need when it comes to slowing things down. So I'm going to get into the tarot. We have a very beautiful tarot deck here for you air signs. Let's get into what does group 1 need to hear, need to know for the highest good. What's going on with this Kairos energy? And how can they best help themselves enjoy all of this? Mythic time. Ooh, we have the Me, Myself, and I card. That's specifically working with me, myself, and I. It also can represent other people, I will say that. But Three of Pentacles is really interesting here. I want to get more on the board before I start yapping, because I'm gonna fully go off here. I have a lot that I could say. Let's move this down, actually. I think that'll be fine. Oh, I forgot. This tarot deck has 2 extra major arcana, and I think I'll have to go and either, I don't need to look it up, but I don't know exactly where. Oh, it's right here. Perfect. The little guidebook, because I don't want to get these 2 wrong, but I will interpret them before I get into the author's meaning for the artist card. I feel like you have this true intuitive vision when you're able to slow down, but it's all about getting there that I feel like you're really trying to like figure out. And the best part about this is that like half the time it just happens in a spur of the moment. Like, we'll just be taking a walk and it's not like we've seen anything different, but something about this day and the air and just everything feels nice, and it doesn't even have to be super sunny or pretty out. Like, it could just have an aesthetically pleasing feel to it, like especially when it gets like really foggy and has that sort of Halloween like sort of vibe to it. You could still feel calm in environments like that, and I think that's the big thing of like, you have your own way that you kind of wind down and relax, and I feel like it's not as let's say pretty as most people's like idea of like laying down. Like, some people or winding down, some people want to have all of these positive aesthetics and very light flowery things, and you may be sort of a darker aesthetic and have a lot of darker themes, but that makes you feel calm. Don't like demonize yourself for that. Don't beat yourself up, because if you don't work on like sunshine and rainbows, and maybe you like them sometimes because they're sometimes pretty, if you function with like crows and foggy forests that have with leaves that have fallen off the trees and stuff, like if that's your vibe and that calms you down, I feel like entering that space that's like a little bit unorthodox per se, or just not your average sort of like winding down, don't worry about how it looks on the outside, because this is all to really understand what kind of sparks you into this mythic time. It's always a certain vibe, energy, vibration that we feel just in our environment, and it can really set us apart from how we just not necessarily structure our lives, but structure like the healing and just slowing down or just relaxing and resting and maybe even clearing out energy. Like, it provides a better structure to get to this sort of patient part of yourself, but also I feel like a big like message for some of you guys is you can't force it. And I feel like this is where the Hierophant here becomes very, very adamant of like, knowledge is knowledge is knowledge. You can't force it. You just have to practice and understand like every little line one by one and take your time with it. There is no jumping from A all the way to Z instantly. We have to go through the whole alphabet to really understand the whole alphabet. And understanding that part of the mythic time of like, you just need to keep practicing, keep learning, keep understanding the different things that kind of get you into this sort of like slowed down, I would keep saying just the mythic time energy. When you find those things and truly understand them, that's when you can kind of utilize them to be like, okay, let's do this to wind down to then hopefully learn what we need to learn. Like, let's say you need to like have a certain vibe before you go and like study or whatever. If you have a vibe that helps you study, use that 1,000,000,000 times % all the time, because I feel like that practice is not only going to help you build a lot of structure, but I feel like this is also allowing you to have room to teach yourself of things. Like the Hierophant here is very much kind of like you really trying to gain a lot of knowledge, and the commitment that usually embodies the Hierophant card is your commitment to yourself here. You're really committed to how you gain this like flow with life, this fluidity of time that you may feel when you're like really into a book or into a painting, into whatever hobby or sport that you do. There's a lot to work with your energy, and I feel like there's so much to really like truly understand about the task at hand. But there's something that I feel like kind of eats at you of like, you have to understand it right now, right this second. And I feel like this is the thing that you're really unlearning of like, no, let's work with the fact that things take time and leave it up to the universe kind of a thing. Like, who knows when you'll be a master at your craft. Who knows when you'll get from A all the way through the alphabet to Z. Just wait until you feel like you've gotten there. Just keep working, keep studying, keep gaining knowledge. I feel like some of you are like studying. And I feel like I could be talking to a collective of people who are like heavily into their studies, either at school or just on their own, or just growing their knowledge after school. I feel like you're heavy into your studies, and it's okay that you don't have, or you feel like you don't have all the information right now. But the little by little that you stay committed, the more that you'll be able to actually retain the knowledge that you are gaining, instead of just trying to move through things like super fast, super quickly. Things take time, but when you put this sort of time scale on a larger sort of like in a larger view of time, instead of just like small moments feeling really short, when you kind of have these slowed down moments of just, all right, we're going to spend our time committing to our craft, committing to ourselves, each and every day will kind of go by a little more smoothly, till a month down the road you're like, holy crap, I can't believe I'm at this point that I'm at with the studying or the work that we're doing. And I feel like this is where it's like, don't worry about the end goal, but don't feel like you can speed up this process. Work with divine timing. This is like a huge big trust in divine timing and universal timing. And I feel like when you really allow yourself to trust that, you can open yourself up to something entirely brand new, and or just brand new energy, really like committed energy, a brand new understanding of a structure here that you're really working to understand. But also you allow the universe to work with you instead of you working against the universe's timing. The Magician, interesting. I think that was perfect for what I said of like, you don't want to work against the universe's timing, but I feel like you're very adamant on like telling these other parts of yourself, it's like, okay, well, if we just do this way and we structure it out this way and do it that way, we can finish this whole painting by the time that this thing happens. And it's like, the Hierophant, kind of almost the universe talking here, and I feel like your inner self, just your like deep subconscious intuition is like, hey, when we do things that way, it doesn't actually work out the way that we think it's going to work out. And I feel like you intuitively know this, but you're still trying to like reverse this energy and figure it out. But every time it's like you try to reverse this to bring it upright, it's like it accidentally spins right back around. And this is where, oh, it has the Ouroboros thing right here. I don't know if you could see the little snake head at the bottom slash top of the magician card here. This is a cycle that we can recognize within ourselves, but the action that we take on it is the thing that matters the most. And I think this is where we're going to get heavy into kind of what it's been feeling like when you've been moving too quickly. Like, you want things to happen really quickly because I feel like you have a big understanding of, I could manifest something really great here. Alright, excuse me, folk. Had just a small interruption, but no worries. Let's get back into the first set of your cards here. We have 3 Pentacles, the Artist, the Hierophant, Magician reversed, 5 of Cups reversed, which is very interesting here, given what we were just talking about, and the Judgment card. Now, with the trying to catch yourself before you move too quickly is very, very interesting here, in the sense of, I feel like you are really trying to kind of break the spell that I feel like you put yourself under. But it starts with releasing that judgment, which is, I feel like, the thing that you're trying to practice to do here. And I want to look at the meaning for the Artist card, because there was, yes, there are 2 different or 2 extra major arcana, the Well and the Artist. The Artist is the vessel of creation. This card signifies mankind and shows when you need to open to the knowledge that is available if you stop and set aside the distractions of the human condition and listen. And in the upright, some of the key words are visionary, interpreter, creation, and passionate. And I feel like this, I'm very glad I interpreted the cards before looking at this, because it makes a lot of sense now with just what I was feeling and talking about, of really trying to slow down, but also kind of breaking out of this sort of spell of yours that's like, hey, we want to move really fast and understand these concepts really quickly, but we must slow down. Like, things don't just happen overnight, and I feel like you understand that, but then it's like you find yourself being like, well, how could we get it done in a week? And it's like, sometimes things take like a month or 2 to really flesh themselves out. And allowing you to trust in the time is allowing you to trust in the universe. But this Judgment card is very much like how I see in the imagery of people just accepting that they're kind of crossing over into this new realm, this new world. And I feel like this is you crossing over into this mythic time. And I want to say that there's really nothing to be afraid of here. There's nothing to fear except these old things that I feel like you're really trying to get over with the 5 of Cups here. The 5 of Cups reversed is you really just trying not to beat yourself up over moving too quickly in the past, because it's easy for our just human brains to do that. It's really in our own human nature to be our like worst critique here, you know, or our worst critic. I said that wrong. And I feel like this constant worrying and stressing about what has happened in the past has kind of caused you to be like, why am I like letting this get to me? Why am I letting this stop me from actually slowly moving in this direction? And I feel like this is the key to really getting yourself back up on your feet again, and just kind of putting one foot in front of the other when it comes to this knowledge that you are pursuing. Even if the knowledge is like if we're gonna put it in like non-artist terms, it's easy to think of knowledge as just like studying, but sometimes when it comes to I'm a dancer, there's plenty of knowledge I can gain from like not a book kind of a thing. Like there's plenty of knowledge I can gain from just like watching someone dance or listening to someone talk about dance. Like there's so many different like forms of knowledge, I want to say. Hold on, I feel like there we go, my wrist needed to crack there. So don't kind of limit yourself to what that knowledge could be. And I feel like it is knowledge you learned a long while ago. And as well as there was probably a moment in the past that you felt like you had a lot more patience to be like, no, like we'll take one step at a time and see what happens whenever we get to step 100. And who knows when we'll get there, but the more that we keep doing this and plugging away at it, the more that we will eventually reach that sort of, sorry, I thought a card flipped. We'll eventually reach that end goal. And it's almost like look back at like how you felt in those moments, because I feel like that's when you just like locked into your work. Like you were just so enamored and intrigued with your work here. And the fact that we have 2 Cups cards and 2 Pentacle cards already, there's a lot of emotion and passion behind your work. And you want to make sure that you do it right, and you're trying your best to work out the best options for you and the best path for you. But it always takes one step at a time. And sometimes when you're so focused on your craft, you enter this sort of mythic time here that allows you to really see things. Like, we're going to get to 10 Pentacles at some point, but that some point isn't right now. Like, we're going to get to the 10 Pentacles. Like, I can't even figure out, like, an example, like, per se. It's just more of the same thing I was saying earlier of like, you'll get to something eventually as long as you keep plugging away at it. It's not impossible. And I feel like this is where you could be either struggling to heal or processing this healing that is sort of explaining like, hey, we had a lot that we pressured ourselves to complete and to really like get a hold of, per se, get on track with. And this is where this release of judgment kind of lets you see like these 10 Pentacles are a possibility at really any time in the future here. And understanding that when you take your time, you build something that is going to last like years, generations, if we're going to get a little bit exaggerative. You make something that lasts in a very long-term sense, a very, very long-term sense. And even if it's just a mentality of how you are when you're really, really into your work, you have to bring that out right now. Because I feel like you were able to do this in the past, and maybe it was easier because of X, Y, and Z reason. But that's just not where we are right now, and that's okay. We have to find a way to make it work because you're very, very passionate about something. But I feel like the Magician reverse is like you've allowed something to get the best of you, and it's not going to really last too much here. We'll get one more card out. Ooh, the High Priestess. And on the bottom of the deck, we have the 2 of Cups here. So, 6 of Cups, 8 Pentacles, High Priestess, 10 of Pentacles reversed, and 2 of Pentacles. Ooh, excuse me. With the 2 of Cups. And mind you, the High Priestess is the 2nd card in the Major Arcana. And we have 2, 3, we have a 4? No. We have 2, 3, 8, and 10 for Pentacles. So, just want to put that out there. What number is the artist? I believe it's 23. Yeah, 23. Which we have if we're adding this in a numerology way, 23, 2 plus 3 equals 5. Hierophant is the 5th card. And then we have the 5 of Cups. So we have 3 5s coming out here. And that number is a big symbolism in change. But it's the initial starts to change. It is kind of that planning stages of like, what are all the materials? What are all the tools? What's the plan for this change that we are implementing? And I feel like this is where you're really starting to follow and trust your feeling with it, trust your intuition. Even if you have no idea where it's leading you, you're kind of just like, I need to listen to this. Like, I can't ignore this anymore, because everything that you've tried to plan to a T and make work out and like lickety split kind of a thing, it just doesn't work for you. And this is where finding balance and understanding, okay, this thing has worked for me, this thing hasn't worked for me, how can we sort of utilize this knowledge to bring balance together? And this is where you're really coming together with this sort of dualistic parts of ourself, the higher self and the ego, the intuition and the ego, the divine feminine, divine masculine parts of ourselves. The 2 of Cups really symbolizes that the more that you focus on just taking things step by step and looking back to the moments that you had these like feelings of, damn, like we're really into our work and we're just gonna work until we need to go and make dinner and do something, or we need to go do this or whatever. There's a lot of admiration in just practicing and not really having too clear of a main goal here. I feel like there's a lot of just being able to practice just to practice and see what happens, see what you can kind of create out of it. Don't put pressure on yourself to create something that's super extravagant and really out there right now. I feel like this is a big ask of like, hey, take your time with this, because you deserve to allow yourself to slow down. And I think, imagine the joy that you had felt in the past too, when you're just locked into your work. No matter how young you were, if this was like 2 years ago or 20 years ago, think back to those moments and kind of channel them right now for these things that you feel like you need to get done. And that's all I'm going to leave you with. Please trust your intuition here. This is a very big time to really trust the feelings and your gut feelings rather than sort of thinking of logic here. Because we can bring those two sides together at some point, but we have to trust the balance and flow of both of them, and specifically our feelings. So thank you for letting me read your cards. That is all I have for you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. All right, group 2, you got ALETHEIA. And this is a very interesting card here, and I really want to read it from the book, but I believe the keyword in here is truth or trust. I feel like I'm mixing that up a bit. I think it is truth, or I keep getting that mixed up with something else. Nope, I was right. It is truth. Okay. I'm going to read from the book, and then we're going to kind of discuss, I guess, my first initial thoughts before I really look at the book here. This is going to be a matter of understanding truly what has been kind of either nagging at you, eating at you, or just really like this collective feeling of like, why is this thing functioning in this way, if it's in your internal space or external space. So let's discuss the nitty-gritty of the truth here. ALETHEIA, truth. Our soul recognizes the truth. When someone speaks it, a cool wave of relief washes over the room, and all the facts and figures in the world fall by the wayside. Such is the power of ALETHEIA. It has an undeniable resonance that goes beyond the rational. We can also recognize ALETHEIA by its contagiousness. When we hear someone speak the truth, we see the truth within ourselves and are more likely to tell our own story. The ALETHEIA card requires us to step towards an act of truth. This might look like a conversation, a gesture, a poetic act, or a ritual that honors the unveiling of what's been concealed. Reclaiming your own truth is a way to reclaim your vital energy, health, and sense of belonging in the world. Truth has its own wings. Set it free. I know exactly what we're going to get into. So sometimes when it comes to the truth, a big truth that I know a lot of people deal with when it comes to a lot of just bad things that can happen to good people sort of aspect, you have this essence of, okay, I want the truth to be known to the people that sort of, in reality, in fact of the matter sense, that picked the wrong side. You want the truth to be known to them. You want them to kind of see it for what it truly is. But sometimes we can't hold on to those particular people. And even if you were to like move on from it and want to gain success wherever you're gaining success, you could feel this sort of nagging and pulling of like, oh, well, as soon as like I become successful, then this person like from the past, friends or family, may try and take that moment away from me. And I feel like this is really you trying to call back your own power, reclaim your own power from the people that like used or abused your power in a sense, and reclaiming your own truth and walking in it and not having to really have the feeling of I have to explain myself kind of a thing. The truth isn't something to be necessarily feared of here, because I don't think that's the case here, but I feel like you are also understanding how like other people's truths can kind of get convoluted and mixed up into what your own truth is. And most people are willing to kind of see both sides of the story and then kind of get a little bit of an understanding from there, but there are people that just don't do that, and we can't get hung up on the people that don't really follow things out of their best interest per se. They could just want to listen to one side of it and that be it, and then they kind of like stick with somebody that's actually not really providing them much information. Ooh, interesting. Okay. Excuse me. Depending on when you're watching this, this is being filmed on March 3rd, 2026, and it's actually like almost 3:30 p.m. It's 3:21, so we're like close to 3:30. The Hierophant in this card could genuinely be talking a lot about like worldly things and how, especially with what's going on in America, there are a lot of people that are on the right side of history, and there's a lot of people that are on the wrong side of history. And I feel like we're getting into that on the large scale of the world to the minor scale of like, hey, this person did me wrong, and I'm gonna speak out about them, but that person actually didn't do anyone wrong. It's the person blabbering and trying to gain attention out of the situation could be the person that actually did some wrong here, and that could be the truth here that's really playing out. Because while one person just wants to point fingers, you're sitting here like, let's look at everything here, like let's look at all the facts. I'm an open book if you just ask me questions, but at the same time there's no real closure in that, because sometimes people aren't going to want to have that adult conversation. They know what can make or break their side on things. Like, it genuinely is very interesting for how this can play out, because I feel like you really understand how not only can someone's truth alter someone's decision making and their view and perspective on life, but I feel like this is also understanding how someone's view and perspective of you and your story is not the actual truth of what your story really is. And for the people who have come and asked you about it, I feel like you've been an open book, but there's always this kind of feeling left behind of like, well, why can't I just say this to the people that I feel like need to say it? We have the Hierophant reversed, Page of Wands, oh, hello, and Five of Cups. I feel like we had the Hierophant and the Five of Cups come out in the last reading for group 1, so I think you guys are all kind of going through something similar here. And there's this energy of like, I try not to let it bother me, but it still bothers me. And I understand how we try not to let things get the best of us, but at the same time, there's a lot that needs to be processed when we can't find closure for things like the truth. Like, we want the truth to be out there. We want people to really look within and see what is the actual right and wrong here, or just the truth of the situation, regardless of who's right and wrong. But sometimes people are gonna want to stay in their little hangman tree. That's the card that I was pointing at on the bottom of the deck. Some people just want to stay in their little hangman tree of like, okay, well, only this matters, and I'm only gonna listen to this one opinion, and that's it. And those people lack empathy, emotional awareness, and genuinely just lack intelligence. It sounds rude and mean to say it that way, but it's very true. They constantly want to have their cup filled up here and understand like, oh yeah, what this person is saying is like, their word is God or something like that, when in reality it's actually just a whole entire different chess game that they're playing. And this is why I kind of like, if this is resonating to like world leader kind of bigger picture here, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. But if this is resonating for like people who've done you wrong and wanted to paint you in a bad light, like I feel like there's a lot of slander being thrown around or has been thrown around in the past, and you can't let that stop you from fully embodying your authentic self here. And I truly, oh, hello. I truly understand why it feels like you need to kind of hold yourself back here. But I feel like you having this fear of like burning too brightly is the thing that actually makes stuff work out for you. And I think this is where it becomes a bit of a struggle, because it's like, oh, well, am I being authentic, or are they not like getting the full story? Sometimes people don't even need to know the full story to be able to enjoy your presence enough to then later get the full story and get to know you. People can only process so much information right now. Ten of Swords. And it takes a lot to like wrangle in this feeling of like, hey, like people will learn about your story in time, but that's not the main focus right now. You have a path right in front of you that's actually leading you to a lot of stability and a lot of fulfillment. And the last thing you want to let happen is you stopping yourself, or these people who don't want to hear any bit of the truth or any bit of like genuine like scientific facts kind of a deal. Then they'll just stay in their little bubble and not gain any knowledge from it. And sometimes you have to kind of leave it as that in order to kind of not drive yourself too crazy, because it's easy to let these things kind of eat at us. But this Ten of Swords is very much you like really actively releasing this energy. And the fact that the Queen of Cups is like the one card that's upright, you are seeing yourself in such an authentic, truthful light that you're like, I'm actually not just like I'm a good person. It's like I'm actually like I think of myself in a very good way. I think these parts of me are really cool. Like obviously no one's perfect, but you are very fulfilled by the life that you lead and sort of the, let's say, side of history that you're on, because sometimes that's not an easy road. And you know very well that if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And fighting for change and fighting for the truth is not easy. But at the same time, we can't let it diminish our success, diminish our light, diminish our spark and passion for life. Because that's the thing that truly fulfills us and fulfills you, group 2, is this passion for life. Anytime you have this passion, you really break out of these sort of like just what feels like toxic patterns, whether it be like inside your head or just watching like toxic people in a pattern, like committing to this similar pattern that they've like on a small scale, like let someone did you wrong and you you cut off from them and they slandered you saying that you were the bad person, and you just kind of like took the higher road of like, hey, if anyone actually wants to know, you open your door for like honest conversation. But most people are gonna kind of follow the birds of a feather flock together sort of mentality when they don't actually want to get into a deeper adult conversation with certain things. But let's say you're kind of seeing that this person that did you wrong is still following in these same toxic patterns. That's kind of what I mean by like observing these patterns that are happening. And it may feel a little distraught to watch someone kind of like ruin things of their own life, because maybe you actually still like have a lot of care for them. But it's not something that you can solve, and you have to really focus on yourself here and give yourself a lot of credit. The truth of the matter right now is you reclaiming your power, reclaiming your authenticity has allowed you to heal things deeper than I feel like you are like even aware of currently. With the Ten of Swords and the Eight of Swords out here, these are deep wounds, deep like cyclical, or what's the word? Surreptitious like wounds that very much leave a mark that is very deep and heavy, but we are the ones that actually can break ourselves out of this pain, out of this loop, and really be honest with ourselves of like, hey, no, like, this is our power, this is our truth, this is who we are authentically. And I feel like this is where, instead of the Ten of Wands being something of like a burden on your shoulders, this is becoming more or less the idea that you are using this knowledge of what has made you feel fearful to be yourself, be authentic, and grow. You're almost using that fear as a tool to kind of make your mark in life. Do this because you're scared. Do this because you're doubtful. Do this because you're fearful of whatever it may be. Because that is an act of bravery, and I feel like that's a big thing that we can discuss here. The fact that the sword, Ace of Swords, came out just like right here on top of the other swords cards. You are cutting out your authentic self out of all of these weeds and muck and really moving forward with a new mindset at hand here. We have the Ace of Swords upright to end this reading. Let's get one more card out here. Because I feel like you genuinely understand where your truth and your power lie. And if it fulfills you that much, do not let it stop you. Use this knowledge as cornerstones to keep you strong again. The Four of Wands sometimes can show those core things that actually, these core, authentic, truthful things that keep us building things, for building structures and mentalities for millennia to come, you know? And on the bottom of the deck, we have the Wheel of Fortune. You constantly know that, like, there's gonna be ups and downs in life. So when it comes to this one thing of, like, people doing other people so, like, deeply wrong, and maybe they did you wrong, that shouldn't be the reason that you be fearful of either success or fulfillment in life. Just because a toxic mom, you want, like, to keep this toxic mom in your life, but you don't want her at the wedding. I feel like the cutthroat thing is, like, if you have to set boundaries in a certain way to make sure that you can have a happy moment, do what is true to you. Because it is true that if you don't have a toxic parent at your wedding, they're not going to ruin the wedding. I've seen, like, toxic moms or toxic parents ruin weddings, ruin baby showers, like, very important things that are for the person or people involved and not for any other parent or whatever. Like, it is crazy how much people will, like, integrate themselves into other people's moments just to feel special, just to gain attention again. And if that happens, I'm not saying let it happen, because depending on what it is, put your fucking foot down. And if you have to put your foot down and make the hard choice of, like, okay, like, we can't let this person into our life anymore, you put that wand down. and you make it a statement. You stand your ground on it by putting this wand, this idea, this passionate idea of like, we are not going to let this person in our life anymore. Now you have one less wand than 10 wands. Now you have 9 wands there. Each wand that you essentially stand your ground on, each idea of like, we have to do this, we're going to do this, we're setting our boundary here, we're setting our boundary there, you won't have the weight of the 10 wands anymore on your shoulders. But all of this is a big lesson here. This is where we kind of flash back to the Hierophant card, because why I see this as like people of authority, or kind of people who think they have authority or have some sort of authority. Like it could just be like if we're talking in like a non-workplace thing, it could just be like a sort of a creator that's bigger than another creator online, influencer that's a larger following than another influencer, so the person with the larger following feels like that they have authority and say or whatever the fuck, right? But the Hierophant is also reversed because there is a huge lesson to learn here. There's a lesson sort of underneath all of this stuff. Time will continue to move forward, time will continue to tell its story, and time will tell you that sometimes people like this aren't just going to happen in this one scenario. We meet people that are toxic and manipulative and lack emotional and self-awareness, but at the same time, using this as a learning tool to use it in the future whenever you do encounter people like this again is going to help you stand even stronger in your power, in your authenticity, in your voice. I feel like your voice here is very, very powerful here. And don't be afraid to be like, you know what, I'm really tired of this. And it's not to be like rude, it's just like, something's been eating at me, something's been nagging at me, and you just want to like vent to someone about it. I feel like venting to someone about it that you really, really trust can help you better understand sort of what's going on. And I feel like another person could help shine a lot of light on like, hey, yeah, like this person's just never gonna change. Like I have met so many people in my personal life that just, they won't change. Change is so difficult for them, but you have been constantly changing and shifting, and now is not the time to change and shift into basically being smaller than yourself. You have fully embodied yourself here as the Queen of Cups energy, and the fact that the Queen of Cups and the Ace of Swords are the, well, obviously the Four of Wands too, but these two specifically coming out upright in this whole entire reading is so, so intriguing, because this is you fully fulfilled and embodying your authentic self, and you moving forward despite what you have been through, because you have a truth, you're making your mark, you're making your stand, you're making your point, and that's it. And you're not gonna let that weigh you down anymore. And I am so fucking proud of you. But remind yourself that what you learn now can be taken with you into the future for millennia to come. So, thank you for letting me read your cards. That is all I have for you. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye! Alright, group 3, you got the Shapeshifter card, which I feel like this is really embodying a lot of different parts of yourself that you're kind of like shape-shifting in between of. And it's not to say that like, oh, you think that you're this kind of person when in reality you're not. Like, I'm not trying to say any of that. It's more of sometimes we embody different parts of ourselves at different times, in different environments, different situations with different people. Like how you want to talk about group A things with the group A, and you can't really talk about like things that you hang out with group B, like the things that you do when you hang out with group B, you can't really talk about with group A, just because it's just a different situation with different people. It's like trying to talk about even if it's like similar things of like figure skating versus hockey, they're two very different sports even though they're both on the ice, and you can't really talk about like certain things with hockey players that they deal with, because it's different things that they deal with versus what a figure skater would deal with. Also, just to make you all aware, We are filming this on March 3rd, 2026, so there is the full blood moon that is happening. Crazy energy right now, and I'm super happy to be here just providing these messages. I feel like this is a good time to do it. And if anyone is still watching right now, please feel free to check out my Twitch channel. I do free tarot reads on there, mainly every Tuesday, but actually, because of what was happening astrologically, I kind of decided to do one on Monday, and now today's Tuesday, so I did like a double tarot days this week, which may or may not happen. I kind of go with the flow with it. So if you want a free 1-card read live on stream, I can provide that with you, or provide that for you if that's something you're interested in. I just wanted to make that aware before the end of this video here. But let's get into the shapeshifter energy here. Remember to always take what resonates, leave what doesn't. The shapeshifter, the trickster, the elusive, the formless. The shapeshifter has a love of theater, games, and trickery. Its energy appears as one thing, only to reveal a more complex story below the surface. The shapeshifter is within all of us to some degree. It is the side of ourselves that is slippery, non-committal, and experimental, and longs to dismiss the rules. We need its energy to adapt to the ever-changing landscape of our existence. When the shapeshifter card appears, it's important to imagine that you're looking at life through a kaleidoscope rather than a single focused lens. At any moment, the scene may shift, revealing a more enchanting vision than you imagined. Be wary, though, as the allure of the kaleidoscope can leave you exhausted and yearning for solid ground. Dancing long-term with the shapeshifter requires a central pillar of integrity that links us back to our center. The ultimate shapeshifter works undercover in service of the greater good. The diminished shapeshifter becomes a people-pleaser. The shapeshifter is related to the mask. Notice if these cards come up together in one reading. If so, you are in the realm of heavy theater, illusion, and possible deception, which is interesting, because there is a card it is referencing called The Mask. And it mentions how some masks may hide our true selves, or some masks may actually reveal our truth selves. In the sense of, like, maybe you feel more comfortable being yourself behind that mask. Not to, like, hide yourself, but to really show more of yourself. It's a quite interesting archetype that they really, like, bring in here with the shapeshifter card. And I feel like if there are any people that have been sort of wearing these metaphorical masks, it's kind of like this conscious awareness of, like, hey, A, this is not right, and B, there's always more than meets the eye of, like, why do people follow behind or follow blindly behind these people who hide behind these metaphorical masks while you're out here doing something different. And I feel like some part of you almost feels a bit like, not judged, but like it's easy to underestimate you. I feel like when they see one thing, they don't notice that there is a great beast lurking in the shadows of your own self and own personality. They kind of just see this, like, minuscule side of you, and there's a whole tiger in this card that's just kind of, like, lurking, just there. Trying to figure out if this is a skull or not. Can't really tell. It almost looks like a skull with how it's portrayed. I feel like there's almost this wanting to prove yourself, but also intuitively knowing it's like, hey, just watch me work and you'll see for yourself. But I also feel like you find great joy in the fact that you're able to, I feel like this is shape-shifting into different, like, groups and parts of society. Like, you could be someone who grew up with a lot of money, but you've met people who had all different types of financial situations, type of a deal. You've got encountered all of these different walks of life and gained all this knowledge from it, so you can kind of meet people where they're at now. And not many people can say that. I feel like that's a big key quality to that shape-shifting energy, that people are like, oh, I'm just gonna assume this, that, and the other about you because this is what I see on the surface. But the people who really know you are looking at other people, underestimating you, being like, I don't think you really understand, but just watch group 3 do their thing, okay? Just watch them do their thing. And this isn't a watch them do their thing in your own limited, like, worldview. Because I feel like some people try to, like, basically keep you in a cage and be like, see, this is why you're actually wrong and this is why I'm actually right. But what's so strange is that you kind of flip this on their head. Like, when they try to, like, put you in a cage, it's like you throw that energy right back at them. We have the Five of Swords and the Page of Swords here. Truly interesting, because it's like you understand and are enlightened by so much, even if it's just little things in life, that you take this knowledge with you and you're always wanting to, like, not necessarily just be humble, but, like, you're humble enough to know that you may not know everything, but the people that limit themselves in their thinking, you're kind of just like, okay, like, if that's the cage you want to keep yourself in, like, we can keep you in there, and I can move on to broaden my knowledge and gain more enlightenment about the situation, and you can just stay where you're at. And it's really interesting how the Five of Swords is coming out, because normally I always see it in, like, its real general sense, its general meaning, but here it's very, very adamant on, like, people try to put you in a cage, so you put them in the cage and, like, kind of throw it right back at them, but in a very intellectual way that's like, oh, you are essentially saying, without saying it, of, like, you know more than this person is assuming that you know about just the world or the topic at hand. And to kind of even flip this sort of, when you kind of flip the script here and kind of make them be in the cage here, or this jar, it's almost like the having a little fun of, like, haha, yeah, like, I got you good, whatever comeback you had created that was really intelligent and smart. But you're not going to keep them limited here forever. You have this kindness about you that you're like, you want to open up that cage and be like, hey, like, if you want to open this conversation, like, I'm totally fine doing that, but we're not going to do it in this little bubble of your worldview, because that's not talking about the truth that lies deeply within everything else about the topic at hand. And I feel like this is where I feel like we're getting into a lot of, like, worldly views and even patriarchal views. Like, there's a lot of things with the patriarchy that hurt everyone, men and women. So when you get into a conversation with people who perpetuate this, like, BS narrative of patriarchy, it's like, okay, well, like, let's talk about these things, but not in the bubble of your worldview. Let's talk about them in a broad, open scale to talk about everything. And this is where it becomes very intriguing for just being able to open up to this conversation. But if people are like, no, I want to stay in my bubble because that's not fair if I come out of it, and it's like, it's not fair because you have to admit that you're not fully correct, or that your opinion doesn't have to be the word of God, kind of a thing. Like, half the time people can just have opinions and be like, yeah, I agree to disagree, kind of a thing. And if they're not going to want to hurt or harm anyone and they're going to keep to themselves, kind of, like, I don't know, I'm trying to find the words, like if they're not just going to try and force everyone to believe their own opinion, then, you know, all power to them having that opinion, you know, and they can just keep to themselves and stay in that bubble. But if they're willing to kind of come out, there is some sort of open-mindedness in that, and I feel like that's a careful thing to take note of, like, the people who are like, okay, like, we'll talk about this, and I'm actually really curious of, like, what we both have to say here. And I feel like this is you truly like shining a lot of light on a lot of lost knowledge. And I want to say lost knowledge of like when it comes to patriarchal like things, um, and not even just like misogynistic things, but like misogynistic stuff kind of leads into um, men having to not have feelings and not show emotion, and oh, if you show emotion then you're this, that, and the other, and you're just weak or whatever. um, I feel like this knowledge that you're bringing to the table is very much kind of helping all walks of life open up to a sort of brand new understanding. And you may still feel like that you're just learning about things too, but that is okay. Even beginners can have different lessons to teach experts, if that makes sense. You don't have to necessarily know everything in detail about something to at least voice how you feel about it and what the truth really is showing. Because we can get into the nitty gritty of like statistics and science and all that stuff when we have the time to navigate that sort of path. And I feel like this is where your path specifically has become very convoluted. And I feel like you've questioned whether you should get into like politics or not, because of how you're able to sort of navigate like hurricanes of conversation, hurricanes of debate, hurricanes of people throwing different knowledge at you and being like, see, you're actually wrong. And it's like, okay, well, like, we can discuss this, but don't just shove it in my face saying I'm wrong. Let's actually discuss what you're showing me, if this is a factual statistic kind of a thing. So let's get one more card out here. We have the Five of Swords, Page of Swords, Page of Cups, Seven of Wands, Nine of Pentacles. The way that you're able to intuitively navigate, ooh, Nine of Swords, interesting, has allowed you not only to believe in yourself, but to see how you function independently from everyone else. And I feel like you aren't feeling like you're alone here fully. Like the work that you've done in your independent life and your independent path has actually grown based off of other people, based off of all of these different walks of life that you've met and been able to conversate with. And that has really broadened your perspective on a lot of things, and all of these different like disagreeing thoughts and opinions, people trying to be manipulative or narcissistic with their like viewpoint, shoving these things, trying to shove these things down your throat or in your face or whatever. There's a lot of ground that you stand on, but I will say, just because you're really good at navigating these conversations and you have gained a lot of knowledge very early on, doesn't mean you don't feel a type of way about it. And I think the thing that gets to you sometimes is like, how can people like fall to these illusions? How can people fall to these sort of sides of like just having insane amounts of apathy and lack of empathy on things, and just not caring about certain things that like are actually pretty good to care about? And I feel like the thing that stresses you out is understanding where these mentalities, these unhealthy patriarchal mentalities, have conjured from, and like where this all kind of comes from, because this is not just something that people are born with half the time. Like a lot of things in the patriarchy are taught. They are taught because a man's just got to be a man and a woman's just got to be a woman, and we better shut up and, you know, keep pencil pushing for whatever corporate like job that we have. And even if you're just helping out your local community and being in like a small amount of protests or something, you are a big advocate for people. And I don't know where you funnel that into currently, but I feel like whatever works for you. And we all can't be out in the front lines on a protest, so don't think that your efforts are going to waste. But don't ignore how much like getting into the weeds of debate and conversation, how much sometimes that feels you almost either lost at sea or drained at the end of the day. I feel like this is also being very conscious of like your own energy, and I feel like maybe some of you watching this could feel like, hey, I don't really listen to these tarot reads. Sometimes I've listened to a couple. I know my astrology sun sign, but that's really it. And like, if this is one of your first readings that you are watching on YouTube and you are kind of understanding, maybe I should kind of look into this thing called energy. It is very, very potent, powerful, and when we acknowledge our energy and how we feel energetically, we are able to heal deeper and feel deeper and understand a lot that is going on within our hearts, our minds, and our souls. And when it comes to having a big job for like advocates and stuff, making sure that you stay okay in your mind space is so important. You have to be able to be in control of this part of yourself, or you're going to lose yourself and kind of fall to the emotional wayside. And I feel like you have to take those moments to have those peaceful times in a very chaotic world. It's the only way it's gonna keep you sane, because you're holding on to a lot of residual energy from people that want to lock you down to a certain thing, and you can't give them that power. Even if they're not even in the room anymore, they're like states away or whatever, miles away, you can't let their residual energy from the debate or conversation weigh you down. This is where, when we talk about energy and spirituality, we release these things, but we also just cleanse our energy. And the easiest form of cleansing is taking a shower. I swear to you, in spirituality, if you aren't familiar with it, water is the thing that cleanses all. And it is seen as very cleansing because of how water can just erode like things. Like water can erode all of the little seashells into these tiny little gritty things that we now call sand when there's enough of them around. And we've seen what water has done to the Grand Canyons. If you don't know the science behind how the Grand Canyons were able to form, it is really, really interesting to see how much water has an effect on just eroding things away, or even solidifying them down even more and creating these layers that we see in the Grand Canyon. So water is a very cleansing element, and even if you are just drinking water, that could be a form of cleansing. But it doesn't have to be the saging your house and burning all these herbs, like, or doing this ritual. Or the simplest thing is listening to frequencies, like cleansing like frequencies, because there is some science in frequencies, and taking a shower using water. Even if you're boiling water too, and you're just like consciously thinking about all of this negative energy boiling away, put it into the water and let it boil away. Like literally just imagine you're sending your thoughts to this boiling water and it's all boiling away and being transmuted, sort of either return to sender transmuting, or just transmuting into a clear, positive sort of mindset for yourself. Ooh, we have the Hierophant. The Hierophant has come up for the third time in all of these readings. Oh, excuse me. So if you are gaining knowledge from all three readings, that is totally fine. But the Hierophant has a lot to talk about here. And in this tarot deck, the Hierophant is called the Wise One. We have the Wise One, the Moon, we have Temperance reversed. Okay, now I thought there was two cards there, but no. And King of Pentacles. Oh, hello. I didn't even mean to do that. And Four of Pentacles. And the overall energy on the bottom of the deck is the Ace of Swords, which, funny enough, the Ace of Swords came out in the last reading, but it was upright. Here, I feel like it is reversed, because you're kind of sitting with a lot of these new concepts and new ideas, not really putting too much action towards them, because there's a lot going on in the mind space right now. And you have to gain an honest structure about how your body works energetically and psychologically. Like, psychology plays out in spirituality a lot more than people think. So don't be afraid to dive down the rabbit hole. It may seem a little intimidating, and there's a lot of what I call woo-woo bullshit out there. But there's a lot of science-based stuff that people are really comparing a lot of the science and spirituality in a lot of different things. And if you guys want to start somewhere simple, that kind of opens that door kind of gently, and you like plants a lot and you like reading, or you just want to find someone who has a summary of this or listen to the audiobook of it, this is a great book that talks a lot about the science and literal secret life of plants. And it goes back all the way to the old experiments of someone putting a plant in the closet, and that plant was still able to bloom when the sun rose, and the sun was at like a certain point in the sky, because the energy could still be sensed by the plant through whatever closet it was in or wardrobe it was in, through the roof of the house, and so on. So there's a lot of interesting science that I feel like is very much coming together here. And if you are really starting to dive deep into a lot of these concepts and you are brand new to it, start somewhere small. And if you need to start with a lot of the science part, go for it. And I say, if you guys aren't interested in this book, start with the science of sound and the science of frequencies, and how these like different hertz of frequencies, different like theta waves, delta waves, like they have an effect on our brain, and you can't ignore the energy that plays out here too much longer, because I feel like you understand you could embody a lot of this knowledge and explore this sort of unknown world to gain balance again. Because when you've built something so greatly and so thoroughly, there's only so many ways that you can keep that up in the physical. And if you are keeping your emotions very close to your chest and being like, I want to protect this, I want to hold on to this, it's not going to actually create the balance that you feel like it's going to. Because I feel like this is partially what you know about. And I feel like the more you get lost in a lot of the good that you feel like you do, is right when you kind of feel like, oh my god, I have a lot that I'm holding on to. Whether it's, I feel like it's just like energy from other people that you have to deal with. Like, plain and simple, let's say you work at a daycare, right? And kids are kids, and there's some rambunctious kids out there, okay? And it takes a lot of your energy. It can be really draining. But you gotta be honest with yourself and say, hey, like, if we want to commit to doing like good work and being a good influence on these kids at the daycare, I think we have to be a bit more honest about our actual energy, and how like a lot of negative energy that comes off of a bad parent may actually make you feel worse at the end of the day, when if you sit there and say like, that's that parent's energy and I can try my best and that is all I'm gonna do, at that point you really kind of let go of like, okay, I don't need to sort of protect my feelings, I need to process them, understand them, and build them from the ground up again, and build yourself sort of this space that I feel like you could go back to and explore. There's a lot of understanding how you work individually, and even if this is your first time and like looking into all of these spiritual topics, or it's not your first time, definitely see the difference when you ground yourself in this sort of healing and cleansing versus when you don't ground yourself in this healing and this cleansing. The Four of Pentacles is really a significant thing here, with the fact that we kind of need to let go of a lot of these sort of fast-paced things, and we kind of need to like put our foot down and say, hey, this is the thing that actually is a cornerstone for me. And I always see the Pentacles as like you making your mark of your space that you're gonna call your sort of metaphysical, metaphorical home, and you have to put those Four Pentacles down to really claim your your space, to claim your power per se. This is the thing that keeps me structured and powerful and stuff. It doesn't have to be 4 things exactly that keep you up and keep you powerful, and keep you reminding of your power. The more that we try to protect this part, the more that we kind of forget that, hey, we kind of need to let go in order to protect, heal, and process. It's almost like not not letting yourself enjoy something because of a bad experience. It's like you're not going to let something ruin you enjoying, like, let's say you enjoy painting, but you had a really bad experience of like people just not understanding your artwork one time, and it kind of keeps you from fully expressing yourself in your artwork. But when you fully express yourself and all of the pain that could be in there into your work, it actually feels a lot more freeing and healing. And this is where I feel like some of you could just put your thoughts into boiling water and literally just pretend that the thoughts that are leaving your mind are entering this water. And if you have to pretend, let's just pretend and see what happens after it. Because I feel like the more that you don't gain this balance of like, hey, we need to ground ourselves in like these things that are just unearthing and uprooting, when we do the good that we have to do in life, because it's not an easy road. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it, but it's not here. We have to acknowledge how powerful our energy can be when we let ourselves heal, cleanse, and balance it out. And that's going to provide a lot more strength for you than just pretending everything is okay. Because it's not, and we can make it okay, and that's a really big thing to trust yourself in here. And what's so interesting is that in this Ace of Swords card, there is a little house here in the tree. I find that really interesting. And I feel like this is where creating a stable foundation for you within yourself that you can call home is the key to finding this balance. Because sometimes we need to find a way to cleanse our energy, even if it's like just as simple as taking a shower. And it's can get a lot deeper with all of the different spiritual things and spiritual aspects. So if you are someone who is well versed in those things, be a bit more conscious about it. Be a bit more conscious about what you need to kind of clear out here and work through and move through. So let me finish this by saying that everyone's different. Everyone has a different form of cleansing. So whatever works for you, and that is all I have for you. Thank you for letting me read your cards, and I really hope this resonated. And also, if you felt like that's one reading was a particular zodiac sign versus the other, please let me know in the comments. I would be so curious and happy to hear what you guys have to say towards that. But as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye!